Greetings and welcome to a walkthrough of most of the solution to Candle's Quest. Candle's Quest is a book that I put out a little over a year ago. It's a Minecraft / armchair treasure hunt where you solve puzzles in a book, you go into a Minecraft world to find a hidden block, you use those blocks to solve more puzzles. Links in the description. The hunt is now effectively over because the final puzzle has been solved. Treasure has been claimed by 3 people. Congratulations. And they have each received a treasure pack, which includes an oil painting found in the book itself. Now, I am still accepting entries for the remaining paintings, which I'll get to in a second. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the key chapters in the book that contain all the puzzles. So from left to right on this slide, the first chapter you come to in the book after the introduction is called The Dragon's Verse, which is a multi-stanza poem, each stanza mapping to either the overall puzzle or one of the worlds that you create. The second chapter, which is part of what's called the Adventurer's Journal, has a bunch of short stories about Candle's adventure through Minecraft, and each one of those stories is accompanied by some type of a puzzle which gives you a world seed. The next part of her journal is kind of all of her notes and drawings and important things. There's various clues that are in this section throughout the book, but the key piece to the puzzle is her treasure list. Her treasure list has 21 items. 16 have already been found, and there's 5 question mark slots where her missing treasures are. And you should probably think these kind of map back to the seed puzzles. Also in her journal, she talks about a display chunk where she's going to display these treasures that she's found on her adventures. And this display chunk is made out of different colored blocks of wood in Minecraft. Last but not least, after her journal, you get a number of oil paintings called the Dragon's Visions, and each of the paintings actually depicts a scene from one of the secret worlds and has a number of animals on it. The other thing that you might notice just flipping through the book is that on various pages there are pairs of saplings. So there are saplings in the upper left of some pages, saplings in the lower right of some pages, and if you take them in sequence, they come in pairs. Now, I've broken this puzzle down into a couple different stages. They're not explicitly listed in the book. It's just going to be easier for me to describe it in these stages in this video. So stage 1 is what I call the seed puzzles. As I said, there's 5 short stories in the book, each followed by a puzzle. When you finish these 5 puzzles, you will get a 7-character word that you should use to create a Minecraft world in your Minecraft Bedrock Edition. I'm actually not going to reveal the answers to these 5 puzzles because I think you can still have fun with the book solving these 5 puzzles even though the hunt is effectively over. And if you did solve these 5 worlds, submit them to me. First come, first serve. You'll get a choice of one of the remaining paintings mailed to you. Once you have the 7 worlds in Minecraft, you move on to stage 2. Each of the stanzas in the Dragon's Verse maps to one of these worlds, and they're in order. As you follow the stanza, you follow the poem through the world, you reach a point where you find the treasure block that is referenced. In this case, the treasure block from the first world was deep slate lapis lazuli ore, a mouthful. The second block in the second world was blue terracotta, followed by lily pad, coal ore, and finally crying obsidian in the 5th world. In summer of 2025, I did release some clues on the website and through the mailing list and through Discord. The first clue was the first is long-winded and full of sad. Long-winded referring to the long name of deep slate lapis lazuli ore, and sad meaning blue, and it's full of blue speckles. The second clue was that the second fans itself with a pinwheel when hot. So when you take blue terracotta in Minecraft and you get it hot by smelting it in a furnace, it turns into glazed terracotta, which in this case gets a blue pinwheel-like pattern. The third clue was that the third can make an envious bridge. When you place lily pads on top of water, you could walk across them as if they're solid blocks. The fourth smelts better when smelted. This clue refers to the coal ore. When you smelt it in a furnace, it turns into a chunk of coal, which can then be used to smelt other things. You actually can't smelt things with just the coal ore. And last but not least, the fifth can tear down blocks. I purposely used the word tear so that you might interpret this clue as tear down blocks. But if you think of it as tear, the crying obsidian block actually has a dripping animation below it. Now, once you've found all 5 of these blocks, you're going to want to put them into the 5 spaces in the treasure list as listed. This slide looks very complicated, but it's not too bad. What you want to do is you want to go back to the 5 puzzles that led you to these worlds. Each of the puzzles has a seed item in the page with the puzzle. So these are things such as pumpkin seeds, a potato, which is a seed in and of itself, even though it grows itself, torch flower seeds, wheat seeds, and a carrot, which also is a plantable item that grows into a carrot plant. Each of these items can uniquely be given to different animals to breed them. Breeding is multiplying, as hinted in the book. Let's start with the carrots. Rabbits clearly would eat carrots. Wheat seeds grow into wheat, which can be eaten by the cows and the sheep. The only animal that eats the torch flower is the sniffer. Pigs will eat potatoes to multiply. And pumpkin seeds can be given to chickens to multiply them. So, once you've actually matched up the seeds with animals in a particular painting, you count the number of animals. In this case, there's a painting of a cave mouth which had 2 chickens. So the puzzle that gave you the pumpkin seeds matches to the 2 chickens, means that the deep slate lapis lazuli ore is the second item in the treasure list. The potato puzzle gave you the blue terracotta. There are 4 pigs that eat potatoes, so the blue terracotta is the 4th item in the list. The lily pad is the first item in the list because there's only 1 sniffer in the painting. The coal ore actually maps back to 2 cows plus 3 sheep, which is 5. And there are 3 rabbits in the picture. And crying obsidian maps to the carrot, which gives you the 3rd position. So placing the treasures into the to-do list far on the right is lily pad first. Then you've got a number of items she previously collected. Then the deep slate lapis lazuli ore, crying obsidian, items she collected, the blue terracotta, and at the bottom of the list, the coal ore. This is one of the most important sequences, and in summer of 2025, I gave a clue. Of course, I said that if you multiply correctly, count on having no orange dye or pumpkin pie. So if you think about it, multiply means breed the animals. If you breed them correctly, you will have no orange dye. Because the torch flower, if you give it to the sniffer, it disappears. If you don't, you can turn it into orange dye. The pumpkin seeds can make a pumpkin, which can be turned into a pumpkin pie. But if you feed those pumpkin seeds to the 2 chickens, you'll have no pumpkin pie. Now, if you tried to brute force this, there's 120 different combinations of the blocks. You could put them in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This order happens to be 2, 4, 1, 5, 3. And I say among the 16 given, 16 refers to the treasures on the right, which were already filled out in the book. Once you know that the order that these treasures go into, you place them in the display chunk. Now, the way that you would realize this is because there are exactly 256 characters in the treasure list once it's filled out. And if you know anything about a Minecraft chunk, that is a 16 block by 16 block area. 16 times 16 is 256. On the far right, you will see that I have laid all of the treasures in order into the chunk, including the spaces. So in the top left, Lily space PAD, PEARL, etc., etc., all the way down to the last, which was coal ore. Okay, so now you've got a grid of letters, but how do you use it to look anything up? So let's go back to those saplings. The ones in the upper left of pages were the rows, and the ones in the bottom right were the columns. So in this example, in the first page that has a warped mushroom, that goes into the top of row 1, and the second page had an acacia in the upper left, that's the row 2. Similarly, going across with the bottom right saplings. Column 1 is a mangrove, column 2 is a jungle, etc., etc. This forms a sort of lookup or index to the grid that you use in stage 4C. So in my Summer 2025 clue, I talk about you must address to pot or not, that is the quest. Address means the lookup of a row and a column, typically when you're dealing with a spreadsheet. To pot or not gives you the hint that you are talking about the saplings, because you put saplings in a pot. And in stage 4C, I say on this, each must agree. And what that corresponds to is there are very few and specific places in this table where the row sapling and the column sapling match, and the wood type that's at the intersection also matches. In fact, there are only 7 spaces in this grid, and 7 spaces generally means a Minecraft World Seed in this book. So as you see, if you find the row with cherry and you find the column with cherry, at the intersection of that was a block of cherry wood that you had put the letter O into. I will let you figure out the rest of the final seed on your own. That would get you to stage 5. So now you create the world using the seed that you just figured out. Once again, you follow the dragon's verse, and you stand on the final treasure block and send me a screenshot. Again, 3 people have solved this. Congratulations to Kavolta. He was first, and he actually chose to receive the painting which is depicting the final world. Second was Blue Elvis, who chose to receive the painting of the cave mouth that maps to the very first puzzle. And Venetus Catus has most recently solved this puzzle. They are going to be receiving the painting with the door on the cover of the book. All that is left now is for some people to claim the final paintings by solving those first 5 puzzles in the book, which I have not revealed here. Each one results in a 7-character world, and all you have to do is email me those 5 answers to have your choice of any of the remaining paintings. I want to give a super special thanks to people who have created some of my favorite adventures and inspired a lot of Candle's Quest. Satoshi's Treasure, which was a Minecraft map by Box. The Secret, which is a treasure hunt by Byron Price, and most specifically, the painting of Milwaukee by John Jude Palancar. A book treasure hunt called The Whistle Pig by Duck Miller. My first ever treasure hunt called Mysterious Stranger, book and biography by David Blaine. The puzzle inside was by a gentleman named Cliff Johnson. Really brilliant guy. Last but not least, the Adventure Zone podcast. That is a real play Dungeons & Dragons podcast performed by the McElroy family. So special thanks to all of them. And special thanks to you for reading Candle's Quest, for following along, attempting the puzzles, for playing Minecraft, and really just elevating this whole experience to more than just a book. See you next time.